Oh, this one. Or maybe we should test something. Josh, can you hear me? I can't hear you though. Okay, so you both can hear me. I just can't hear either one of you. Um, Let me. Yeah, let me try that too.
This is fucking wild. Oh, there, it's working now. Hello?
I can hear you.
Wow. Fucking restream. All right, well. What a joy.
Hey, you know what? At least it's sorted out. Technical difficulties, they happen. It's all good. It's all good.
Can we hear you? No.
Nope.
Hmm.
Can you hear me now, guys?
Yep.
Yep. There you go.
Well, now it's on my MacBook Pro.
That's right. Oh, yeah. It's very.
You lose me. Can you can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm back on my. Okay. I'm back.
Oh,
on
you
the,
just had to like. Did you just have to like replug it in or something?
I just had to. I had to switch the inputs
Oh, and switch it
in
back. You're like.
in the settings. Now it's working, I guess. So awesome.
All right. Well, glad nobody was here for that.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What a perfect time! What a perfect time to have no viewers.
mine was like showing up as all the settings were good. Like literally, if I went into the settings, it was showing green, like when I would talk. But then when I come back out here, it just didn't.
Weird.
All right. Well, let's have a podcast then.
All right.
All right.
It's July 28th, 2022, and welcome to the S Rank Media Club. Today, we are going to be starting a new series, Ranking of Cage, where we go on a journey to rank the entire film catalog of Nicolas Cage. So today, we'll be going through Moonstruck and It Could Happen to You. And along with that, I'll be giving my thoughts on Stray. So with that, Kudra, how's your week been?
Well, today was a little Today and last night have been a little stressful, but that's more due to the fact that my kitchen sink completely fell apart.
What do you mean
no.
it fell apart?
Yeah. So in my apartment, I don't know what happened. Like I went to cook something as like a late night snack last night,
Okay.
and like for whatever reason, like there was like water, like brown water, backed up in my sink.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what happened there. I couldn't get it to drain, so I'm like, all right, I'll take care of it in the morning. I'll get a hold of the apartment, and then I'll get maintenance down here. But then I woke up in the morning, and it was gone. So I was kind of wondering, like, okay, I guess maybe it fixed itself. But then I tried using the sink, and then sure enough, like water was leaking slowly. I checked under the sink just to be sure, and there was a bunch of standing water. So
Okay.
that ruined a few things, so to speak. And then in the process of once again trying to like, see what I could do, just maybe if there was a clog in the drain or anything,
Mhm.
the entire like what connects the pipe to the right side of the sink just completely collapsed.
Holy crap!
Wow.
So like the pipe, like I currently have a pipe that is not attached to the sink, and water just went everywhere. I had to go out and get a bucket and everything just to make sure that no more water was going to drain into my cabinet. So that was fun.
So have they
Wow.
been there to like look at it yet?
Nope, tomorrow, apparently.
Gotcha.
So
Nice.
that's fun. Other than that, I've just been watching my weekly anime episodes. I suppose if I had to highlight one today, I'd probably highlight Made in Abyss, which I think is my favorite of the series that I've been watching this particular season.
Okay, so like Made in the Abyss, like Born from the Abyss?
Yeah, the series, like when the title Made in Abyss actually can like mean a lot of things, because like almost every single character thing in the series is attached to this place called the Abyss.
Mhm.
So for context, what the Abyss is, it's this effectively, like, it starts out as like this massive hole in the ground on this island in the middle of an ocean. And it's
Mhm.
basically the last like unexplored area in the world. So effectively what it is like there's like multiple layers, and each of them all kind of have like their own unique biomes. And you follow this like this 10-year-old girl and like this robot boy as they're kind of like as they're exploring all of the layers.
Uh-huh.
And it gets dark. It has this really cutesy art style too, so it's like you're kind of expecting something a little bit cheerier, but it
Yeah.
gets super dark with a lot of the things that happens in the show. uh I mean, I won't go into like too many spoilers with it, but yeah, like there's a lot of very questionable things that happen in the series. That's not for the faint of heart, to say the least.
All right, so you don't want to tell, it sounds like you don't want to tell us anything about it.
I mean,
That's
I
fine.
mean
Keep
one thing,
keep it to yourself then.
the one thing I'll tell you is you should watch it. I mean, if you're looking for like a good anime that's not focused on high school for a change, that's definitely one to
Yeah.
look at. The only thing I would warn you though is like the series has no shame. It has no shame whatsoever.
I mean that's what I think of a lot of anime, so I guess that's kind of expected.
It's a different kind of lack of shame from what I'm talking about. Like, lack of shame in a lot of animes means like you're just dealing with a lot of TNA fan service. This one's more along the lines of I don't. It's let's just say multiple bodily functions are explored.
All right.
Yeah. Explicit anime. Very.
I,
Is that,
I'm starting to learn I'm probably terrible at describing and explaining things, but no, seriously, I tell you, I assure you it is good. I assure you it is good. You should watch it.
Gotcha. All right. So I played a little bit more of Stray. I will say I did not finish Stray, and I think maybe I never will. Uh, from what I've heard, it's like maybe a 6-hour game. I think I've played like 3, maybe a little more. And that game's got a lot of high praise. Like it's I've seen very high ratings for it. I've heard people talk a lot of great things about it. I don't even think it's much of a video game. It's more of a walk around like a cat and just click A to do things.
it's kind of like
Because
sounds like a novelty game.
yeah, and I just there's not much game to be had there, and I really don't understand why. I mean, I guess maybe because it's a game where you play as a cat, and that's literally the reason. Which that's cool. I mean, I have cats, but playing with cats is way more fun than playing this game. Um,
Ouch.
it, there's literally nothing to do. You press A towards an object and it'll like your cat will jump to that object if you can jump to it. There's no freedom of movement. It's just wherever the game will let you go. And then the only interactive scenes that I experienced where there's these little Zerg creatures, which are like this mold that takes over the city, and they chase you around. And there's chase scenes with them where you have to kind of avoid them. And that's literally the only gameplay to be had outside of pressing A to jump from object to object. And
So it's basically, do you eat?
No.
You feed the cat? You can't even feed the cat?
No, you can meow as the cat, but it's so like it's so shallow in all its interactions. Not that much happens, and like it's like you get I don't know certain scenes that are like cute, and it's like look at this cute cat. But then when you go play the game, it's not that fun. Like if you had no access to ever see or play with a cat in your life, then maybe it's a little more novel. But
Yeah.
I just can't see how this game is I I don't understand why people like it so much. And I think it might just be bandwagoning. Like everybody wants to say, "Oh, this is a cool game." Maybe they're tired of playing games. They've been playing too many games. They're like, "Look, I can just get to watch this cat run around. Great." They just like it because they're taking a break, maybe.
Maybe
But
it's just different.
right,
Yeah.
right. But it's also terrible as a game.
Well,
And
okay. Let me ask this though, because I mean, like, so as the cat, you're kind of wandering around the city, right? Like,
yeah,
so I assume like you can follow people around, maybe get like a feel for their lives or anything like that.
I mean,
Like, do
I,
people like how do NPCs interact with the cat?
but they'll like some of them will talk to you. Like they'll have some canned few lines of dialogue that they talk to you. There's a few primary characters that you seem to talk to more, but there doesn't seem to be any extreme like uh actions or cycles of the characters. They'll do something if you meow at them as a cat maybe.
Hmm.
There's these you can like scratch with your paws on like a blind and it'll pull it down and open like a shortcut,
Hmm.
but there's just no there's not like there's not a lot of things to find. I don't feel like it just doesn't I can't see what there is to it. It's so thin and shallow. Like there's not a lot of cool secrets you find. The mechanics don't seem the graphics are fine, but they're not like amazing or mesmerizing. So I, I just
Can you like interact with other cats?
at
Are
the
there other
beginning,
cats?
yeah, at the beginning there
Yeah.
are, and you can like it'll
That
have
sucks.
these animations where you like snuggle next to the other cats, and
Hmm.
I guess that's fine, but that's it. That's what it's got to offer.
I mean,
Um,
I
It's
guess it
not it's
sounds
sad.
cute, but
It sounds like a game that could have had a lot of potential, but it just wasn't. I mean, it just sounds like someone made it in the
yeah,
afternoon.
yeah. Maybe if they took their artwork, well, I mean, I'm not saying it. Maybe it took them a long time to create all those assets. I don't know how big the team is. It's not a huge developer, I don't think. At least the team, but I as maybe they could make a game out of it, yeah. But as of right now, it doesn't feel like they did. So I'd give Stray E. Um,
Ooh,
just
yeah.
not like if you really want to see it, go watch a playthrough because there's nothing to play.
Mm.
So watch the movie.
Watch the
But
movie. Yeah.
even that's not amazingly interesting. So watch some cat YouTube videos instead.
I'm
It's a
pretty
bad
sure I
game.
saw. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw that on an ad too, and I was like, "Wow, that looks like a really fun game." But then to hear you talk about it, it's yeah, that sucks that they didn't really do anything with it.
Yeah, and I've seen people talk about it and they say, "Oh, look, you get to be a cat," but I haven't seen anybody like tell me what the hell's fun about it because to me, there's nothing fun about it. Um,
Other
yeah,
than being a cat,
right.
a
So
virtual cat. Yeah.
that's my thoughts on Stray.
hmm.
Um, so with that, we can. Do you have some else, Kudra?
No, I don't. It's like I didn't have much interest in playing this game when it was announced. Like I saw footage from it, and the game never appealed to me. But now it's like you're rating it this badly. It almost makes me want to go play it just to see. It's like, is it really that bad?
I think it's $30.
Ooh.
I think it's also on the PlayStation. One of their tiers of subscription. I don't know if you have any of those, but it's on those
Uh,
tiers.
yeah, I have their annual subscription, though. Admittedly, that's their PS Plus, but admittedly, that's only because I got 12 months of it as a bundle with my PS5.
Gotcha. Well, I know they have different tiers of it now, so I don't know which tier Stray is in, but it is on there somewhere.
Hmm.
All right. So, next we
Mhm.
can move into our primary topic for today, ranking of Cage. Um, we'll be ranking first Moonstruck. So we will now go into that. All right.
Yeah.
This is go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead. Take
What-
it off. Take
you
it.
want me
Take
to-
it.
did-
Take
what
it.
were
Not
you-
take it
what-
off. Take it away.
What do
Take
you
it
got?
away.
You got some pre-show stuff here?
No, I was just gonna go right into it and say that you guys should go first because my opinion is not gonna change based on what you say, but I might be change yours. So
Yeah. So the format for these ranking of Cage, I'll give a synopsis of the movie, and then we'll kind of walk through the movie plot point by plot point and discuss interesting things. And then at the end, we will rank, and then we will put it on the overall tier list. All right. So here we go. This is Ranking of Cage Part 1. Here with me, Colton, Scott, and Josh. So first things first, the synopsis from Just Watch. So no sooner does Italian-American widow Loretta accept a marriage proposal from her doddlish boyfriend Johnny than she finds herself falling for his younger brother Ronnie. She tries to resist, but Ronnie lost his hand in an accident and he blames on his brother, and he has no scruples about aggressively pursuing her while Johnny is out of the country. As Loretta falls deeper in love, she comes to learn that she's not the only one in her family with a secret romance. So this movie's from 1987. And fun fact, Cher won an Oscar for this movie.
wow.
He
Impressive.
got multiple awards.
Yeah, I stumbled into the Cher won the Best Actress Oscar for this.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Was that a good decision or the greatest decision?
I can't say because I don't know the movies she was up against.
Well, it was 1999?
87.
1987. Probably like it's like batteries not included. And like what is it, 1987? City Slickers 2, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, not very good. Not very good. There wasn't much of competition. Sorry to say.
So the start of the movie, when I feel like it establishes the tropes of Italian American life at the time.
Mamma mia.
You got like they're out to dinner, and you get somebody throwing a drink on their date. I assume that's just what you did in the 80s. Have you ever seen anybody actually throw a drink on somebody live in person?
Probably, but not to the point where it was anything that was out of the ordinary given the situation.
I don't think I've ever seen that in actuality.
I haven't either. I don't know if people have ever or still do that, or if that's just exclusively a movie trope.
Had drinks thrown at me. Does that count?
Yeah, that would count.
Yeah. Okay. That's happened to me.
So then you have they go to a guy, and he says he's like worried about proposing by getting on his knee because he's worried about ruining his suit. Which just seems very like.
Is it like a commentary that he's like really cheap basically? And like he's only concerned about his material, like he's like, oh, my suit, don't get my suit dirty.
I think so.
Like I want to spend my life with you, but don't get my suit dirty. You know?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
kind of an asshole.
Yeah, it's also the 1980s in New York, and everyone is Italian.
Right.
From what you see in this movie.
Yep.
So
Cher's character literally walking him step by step on how to do a proper proposal.
And then you kind of get to the premise here where Loretta is set to marry Johnny, and I believe they set a date like a month out. And then they celebrate by having champagne with sugar cubes in it. Were those sugar cubes? Did you notice they were like dropping something into the champagne?
I noticed they were dropping something in the champagne, but I didn't catch what they were actually dropping in it.
I thought it was sugar cubes. I don't know
might be.
what else could it have been. But then
I don't know.
why did your champagne doesn't need sugar cubes?
Some kind of ice cube.
Oh, could it have been an ice cube?
Something. I don't know.
I don't know. It seemed like it increased like the carbonation like of the drink, like when it drops something in there, like it almost looked like they were dropping Alka-Seltzer in it
Well, here, put some
because of the
ibuprofens in
increase of
here.
bubbles. But
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, I don't know.
They added something to the drink, but so they're gonna be married. That's kind of the setup here. And then Johnny has to leave to Sicily where his mother is deathly sick. So he leaves for Sicily and he wants Loretta to inform um, his brother of their marriage. So that kind of leads to where she has to go and inform the brother. And she's never met the brother, and he hasn't talked to his brother in a long time. And it's not explained why, I don't believe.
He's
Not at
just
the
a bad.
time.
Yeah. So then Loretta shows up to the bakery where Johnny's brother, where Ronnie works at. And this is where we meet Nicolas Cage, who plays the role of Ronnie. And this, I think, is the best scene in the movie for me, um, where you meet Ronnie at the bakery, and he's just there baking bread, and she shows up, and then when she figures out who she is, he has like a classic Nicolas Cage flip out. He says, "Bring me the knife. I'm going to cut my throat." um, and then you see that his hand is like cut off, and then you figure out his hand was cut off by a bread slicer, and he blames his brother because he said his brother tried to talk to him and it distracted him, and then he cut his hand off in a bread slice.
It was the most absurd reasoning.
So yeah, that's what I thought too. It's absolutely asinine. Like, yeah, he talked to me and distracted me, and I lost my hand on a bread slicer.
Oh, geez, it's your brother's fault for you not paying attention.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
just that there's not like a more
Nothing more developed than that.
no, just he distracted me. And then one of the ladies like at the bakery shop after like stands there and says he could never love anybody since he lost his hand and his girl.
Oh.
Despite the fact that she's in love with him.
Right.
I don't is she at that point?
I believe that character explicitly says, like, it's like, he could, like, never see how I feel
Oh.
about him or
Oh,
something like that.
the other character in the
Yeah,
bakery.
the
Yeah,
the
yeah.
other bread girl.
Well, it turns out everyone is in love with Ronnie. I mean, who
Dude, he's
doesn't
an
love her?
edgy he's like an
Inclu-
edgy, angsty 80s boy. What's not to love?
Including Ronnie is in love with Ronnie.
I bet he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, so I I kind of feel like I, the movie it almost feels like a lot not a lot happens until you get to this point. Like if you really look at what happens in the movie.
Mhm.
Um
It's pretty
it,
slow.
yeah, and then you get here and we find Johnny, and then nearly immediately after this we go to like a sex scene of Loretta and Ronnie, which felt just like it just happened all of a sudden. Like they just met at the bakery, and then like within like a couple minutes of scenes, we were there.
Hmm.
Which it felt like they didn't. It just felt like they didn't like do anything. They're just like, yeah, now they're in love. Here we go. Um, I don't know. Did you guys feel like it was like rushed?
I'm not sure that I would say rushed. I would just feel like I did feel like it was disjointed. It was
Yeah.
like why do we care about these people and what's happening?
Well, and why? What's the premise for their relationship? It really seems like
It's
just
basically forbidden
forced.
love. It's like your brother. It's like your brother's woman. Like
That's it
it's
though.
like,
Like that's you're just
Like,
supposed to buy it off that
but it's
alone.
also no. It's also like Cher's character learning how to love.
I mean that
So
I mean that's a fair point. Just because earlier in the movie, when Cher was talking with her mother, because Cher was explicit. The mother specifically asked her, it's like, "Do you love him?" And Cher's like, "No." Mom's like, "Good. Love only leads to bad things."
Right. There's
it's
that
just
whole kind of
it's just like cheese ball all day, and it's like everyone's kind of happy in the end, and it's really cute, and everybody is things are whatever, and I feel like it's a very gentle journey,
yeah.
from A to B, and I
Right.
don't I for me it's not really my kind of movie.
Well, I guess in the I guess in the beginning of the movie, it kind of does set up Johnny as like I don't know, you kind of get the vibe that she does like they're not in love almost is maybe what it's trying to portray.
Right. Like they're
I guess,
just going through the motions.
yeah, I guess I wish maybe it did more of that to kind of set up the rest of it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I used to watch this movie all the time when I was a kid. My parents and my family loved this movie. And the best parts were the Italian family. That was the best part. And I kind of didn't even realize I was so young. I didn't even realize until you guys brought it up again. I was like, "Oh yeah, he is in that movie." And then I recently watched it, and it was bad. Um, it had its cute moments, but I mean, for me, I'm gonna put it.
Whoa,
I
whoa, we
can't.
still got a lot of the movie to
Whoa,
go before we rank it.
we're not done with the movie yet.
All right, guys, keep on going, guys.
So what we're getting is Josh hates it so much he wants to rush this in order to
All right.
have it done and over with.
I don't mean to
So
rush it. I just
after the sex scene, you know, it's been proven they're in love. Well, never. Hold up here. I'm getting ahead of myself. After that, we get a scene at night where you get multiple characters looking at the moon, and
La Luna.
they became moonstruck. So this is the premise for their relationship because we didn't see anything else. So we must assume that when they get hit by that special moon, they get moonstruck. And now it's by the moon they're in love.
Yep.
And
Amore.
because from there, you know, that's it. They're in love. And then that we get to the scene with the family and Johnny's going to be coming back soon and she comes and she's like Johnny's coming back and then Ronnie's there and Ronnie's like no, I love her and she's like we're not getting married and then Ronnie and Loretta are together and then it's a happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
And they probably drink champagne again.
They did at the end after Ronnie proposed, and they still were dropping things in their champagne. So
Yeah, I guess overall there's not a lot of plot points in the movie. It really is like if you look at it, there's like 6 plot points, and then you're through it.
I feel like my problem with this movie is like, well, other than just the fact that it was dull. So I mean, like you have like a couple different side plots. Like one of them being like the dad cheating, Loretta's dad cheating on his wife.
Right.
Uh, and then like they end up meeting at the opera, and
Mhm.
Loretta sees that, which draws a very good parallel. Like father, like daughter.
Right.
But
There's
eh,
no but that doesn't change anything, right? It just shows us the parallel, but it just continues on its course.
effectively, because the whole thing is like at the end of the movie at breakfast, the wife's just like, "Hey, stop that," and Loretta's dad's like, "Okay."
Right. Problem solved.
Problem solved.
Right.
Yeah.
But yet on the flip side, and then like any opportunity there was for interesting drama,
Yeah.
like Ronnie's brother coming back from his mother's place, or after his mother inexplicably recovers from what's supposed to be a near-death illness,
Yeah.
he just breaks up with his fiance, just breaks up with Loretta because I guess mom's healthy, so we don't need to be together anymore. Which just completely removes any and all dramatic tension that could have been had in this movie. And then Ronnie and Loretta get married after a grand total of 2 days of knowing each other.
It just goes to show that love is not something that you can control.
I think it just if this movie shows anything, that love is stupid.
Yeah, I agree.
So I guess when I like look at the story of the movie, I feel like watching the movie is a better experience than looking at the story of the movie.
Yeah.
I don't think it's amazing, but I don't think watching it wasn't a bad experience for me. I think the movie outperforms its plotline. there's some occasional parts that are kind of entertaining, and then just some weird shit it does. You're like, what is going on here? It's just some in the Nicolas Cage bakery scene. I will say I like that scene. I like Nicolas Cage at the bakery talking about how he cut his hand in a bread slicer. Um,
Yep. Every line of dialogue in that scene is either whispered or screamed. Classic Cage.
yeah. So, Josh, you seem to have a pretty strong feeling on this movie. What did you want to give your ranking, your solo ranking for this movie?
I'll give it an E. And
Okay.
the only reason I don't give it an F is because it has a couple cute moments, and I watched it when I was a kid. It's the only reason I give it not an F.
I gotcha. Kudra?
I don't know. I'm a little torn. It's low. It's either a D or an E for me as well. I might have to go E. I might have to agree with Josh. I mean,
Wow.
the movie's not.
E's?
I wouldn't say the movie's like bad, but it's just boring to watch. I mean, the movie. I watched this movie. Like I was having some trouble falling asleep. I think it was like Tuesday night going into Wednesday morning,
Uh-huh.
and so I decided hey, I'll watch this movie. 30 minutes of watching this movie.
Will you write out?
Yeah, like tell you what, if you need a cure for insomnia, watch this movie.
Another cure for insomnia, Moonstruck. Yeah. So what do you think, Colton?
I don't think it was an E. I didn't not enjoy watching it. I think my solo ranking is actually a C.
That's probably fair. I mean, it won awards, right?
It won awards. Yeah, I didn't.
And it was really popular. People loved it. Right? It was popular in its time. Not that that really counts for anything. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so now let's place this in our overall ranking of Cage, which I would like to.
Oh, maybe before we get into that, though, we probably should mention that Quinn did give us a ranking of this movie before the podcast, and he rated it a C.
Oh, Quinn also rated it a C.
Quinn also rated it a C. So
we got 2 C's.
Wow, 2 people with terrible taste.
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
Attack.
Yeah, shots fired. So we have to agree on a rating now.
Yep. So I have our official ranking of Cage list here. We have Moonstruck. So you guys put it at an E. I put it at a C. We got 2 C's, 2 E's.
So split the difference, put it at a D.
A D. I think I could agree to a D. I think I would agree putting it there. Are you guys agreeable to a D?
I think we're unanimous in that vote.
All right. We are unanimous that the overall ranking of Moonstruck is a D. All right. I don't know why when I share that screen. Okay. Since we have. All right, give me a second here. I'm going to do something before we start our next one. Kudro, tell some jokes.
I got nothing.
Wow.
I can't be put on a spot like this and expect.
What did the Buddhist say to the hot dog vendor? What did the Buddhist say to the hot dog vendor?
Buddhist say to the hot dog vendor. Hello. I would like a hot dog.
Good guess.
Buddhists don't eat meat, though.
The Buddhist said, "Make me one with everything."
Wait, Buddhists don't eat meat at all?
Most
They
of them
can't.
are vegan.
I didn't know that.
Well, I mean, probably your hardcore Buddhists at the very least.
Okay, what did the Buddhist say to the vegan hot dog vendor? He said, "Make me one with everything." Wah, wah.
Oh, wow.
Pretty good. Okay, let's do another one. What did the let's see. What did the shoes say to the ground?
Splat.
You just let me walk all over you.
Okay, that's better.
Come on, I thought the Buddhist one was better.
I like the Buddhist one better too, but I didn't know Buddhists didn't eat meat. So,
Well, now you know, and knowing is half the battle.
all right, tell another joke.
What did the mountain say to the sky?
It's
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's a pun, but
you don't know.
yeah. I
You
know. I'm making these up as I go, guys. Come on, this is
I
how
had a
funny I
feeling
am.
that was the case.
Yeah, well, I just look at the first thing I see and then I just say whatever comes out.
Wow.
What did the mountain say to this guy? What did the mountain say? What did the glacier say to the mountain? That's a better one. Well, when you move at a glacial pace, you move slowly. When you move at a mountainous pace, that's not a word. So
Wow, great one.
we've made some progress today.
All right, we'll start our part 2 of ranking of Cage here.
Okay.
All right, this is ranking of Cage part 2. It could happen to you. I'm Colton Wallace here with Scott Kudron and Josh Lieto.
Hey guys.
So first things first, we'll start with the synopsis from Just Watch. Charlie Lang is a simple, kind-hearted New York City cop. When he realizes he has no money to tip a waitress, Yvonne, Lang offers her half of the winnings of his lottery ticket. Amazingly, the ticket happens to be a winner in a sum of $4 million. True to his word, Lang proceeds to share the prize money with Yvonne, which infuriates his greedy wife Muriel. Not content with the arrangement, Muriel begins scheming to take all the money. So, this movie opens up where it kind of shows you Charlie, who's a good guy cop. And then you see the other two characters, Yvonne, who is a waitress living the struggle, but she has a good heart. And Charlie's wife, Muriel, who seems to be very status obsessed and vain and is not pleased with the life they're living. So basically, the first kind of scene of the movie is showing Charlie as just being a good guy cop. I believe he delivers a baby on a bus.
Yep. That was one of the scenes, brief scenes.
But so then it shows him and his partner. They're going into a diner to eat some lunch or something. So they go to order food, and Yvonne is their waitress. And then they get a police call and they have to leave. So then he goes to pay the bill and tip her, realizes he doesn't have the money to tip her, and then says, "Hey, I'll give you half the winnings of this lottery ticket." And she's like, "Oh, wow, thanks." Because you'll find out she's already having a bad day. She's having a bad time with life currently. So then after that, we get to see Charlie's life at home with Muriel, his wife, and his wife is really you get the portrayal that she is not like happy with their current situation and she wants them to be like striving for more.
Yeah, I might back up just a second, just for
Yeah,
because you see Muriel first at because it looks like she's a hairdresser or a
all
hairstylist.
right. Yep.
Or wait, was she getting her hair cut?
No, she works at a salon.
That's right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
And yeah, and like, well, the conversation Muriel's having with the woman that she's cutting her hair is like, she's like, oh yeah, he's just a cop. He brings home money, I guess.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah. So
So,
they really want to drill that in.
yeah, you really see the true love in the marriage.
Yeah, they have no connection at all throughout the whole thing.
Right.
I don't even know why they married at all.
Well, they were, I think at some point it says they were together like in like high school or when they were teenagers, and then they just stayed together since then. But yeah, through the whole movie, it doesn't even seem like they like each other at all. Like not even remotely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he doesn't and he seems totally complacent and does not care.
Right.
And she seems all up in arms about everything.
Yeah.
And it's like and I don't know, felt like that character was intended to be annoying.
Right.
Because it was
Yeah.
it felt like she didn't have any redeeming lines or moments at all.
Yeah.
There's a moment when he's giving money to the like police fund. She's sitting up on the stage and she's just like, oh damn, am I $10,000? Like this is and it's like you're on stage in like front of and you're on TV and she's just like so shameless. She is like so shamelessly wants that money. It's just it's an
Right.
icky character.
I
Yeah,
kind of
she gets even pettier than that though, because like you see the blind guy with like the cup when they're entering someplace, then you see Nicolas Cage's
Yeah.
character stick a little bit of money in the cup, and then she just pulls it out.
She's like, you can't give money to every homeless person on the street, and it's like, wow, what a stingy person.
Yeah. So we see kind of their interactions for the first time when he's at home there that first night, and he makes Jiffy Pop on the stove with like old Jiffy Pops that have like the
Yeah.
tin foil.
It was a nice throwback. I was like, oh yeah, those.
I've never had an experience that's good with those. I feel like they're always subpar.
I don't remember. I was such a small child. I was like what my grandma would have.
Right.
Yeah, I've never tried one. When growing up, I always had like the bagged microwave popcorn.
Sure. But just the kind you put on the stove, it's just wild to see that now. Like it seems so like inefficient and it never seems to work correctly. But sure enough, they win with their lotto ticket for $4 million. His wife's Mariel's freaking out, and at some point he then confesses that he promised this waitress half of the winnings, and in her typical fashion, she's very angry about that, and I think she probably calls him a moron or something.
She's like, they don't even show the confession. Oh, they like cut to outside, and all you hear is like her scream, and she's like, "You promised money to a random stranger," and,
Mhm.
and then thus begins the struggles over the money.
Right. So then eventually, though, he does decide to give Yvonne the half of the money. And
Well, he actually gives her a choice, right?
oh, right.
He goes into the restaurant. And he's like, "Well, he's like, you can pick. You know, I'll either give you double your tip, or I'll give you a big, just to like double tip of what you're supposed to get, or you can split half of this lottery ticket." And he doesn't tell her.
Right.
He's like A or B, and she's like, "Well, I'll take B. I'll take the lottery ticket."
Yeah.
And he's like, "You made the right decision because you get $2 million."
And is that the same scene where he gives her like the glasses necklace? The glasses, like
Yeah, he starts off with that. He's
Yep.
like, "First off, I have a gift."
yeah,
Mhm.
which seemed really weird, but
Well, I mean,
kinda-
I feel like it made sense when you consider the context of the earlier scenes where it's like
Yeah.
she's constantly fidgeting with her glasses. I mean, what is it? The other waitress, like as she was like looking for them, the other waitress points out, "Oh, they're on your head."
right.
Yeah, and then
After her boss was yelling at her.
at one point, Nicolas Cage finds them for her.
Yeah, it's just showing how much of a nice guy he is. Like they really drive that point home.
Right.
It kind of all the characters in this movie I feel like are very like single noted. Like you have the wife and I feel like Nicolas Cage is just the good guy cop and he just follows that through the whole movie. And like that's his whole thing. And then even like some of the other like the boss at the diner that Yvonne works for who just sits behind that table and yells all the time, he feels like a cartoon character. Like he just sits there and yells about shit. It just cuts to him yelling.
They give him coffee with cigarettes
Right.
in,
Yeah.
and he likes it. Yeah, right.
Right. He's like the
Yeah.
Charlie Brown teacher.
Right.
Um. So, anyways, then when they're like accepting the award, when they're accepting the money for the lottery winners, there's reporters there, and one of the reporters asks the Yvonne, "Is this the biggest tip she'd ever received?" Like, what a dumb fucking question. No, I received a tip bigger than this massive amount of money.
Right.
um,
I feel like that's just meant to be like a lighthearted, trying
yeah,
to get people to smile kind of thing as they're
I
in front of the
guess,
camera.
but I mean, that's bad reporting, if you ask me.
I feel like that's kind of what the whole movie was like. I felt like it was like a little bit of a window into just how like in the late 80s life was just like so different
Yeah,
in a lot of ways, and it was
uh,
just like, this was like the biggest deal. Like get on
yeah,
TV and ask, "Is this the biggest tip you ever got?" It's like the
right,
dumbest question ever. Obviously it is.
right.
And it's just I don't know, another movie that was just all cheese all the way through made me feel physically sick after finishing watching it.
Oh God.
um,
One thing I will say is I have never seen paparazzi follow lottery winners as
yeah,
closely as they did in
right,
this movie. That
Right.
felt
yeah.
so contrived.
One question:
Yeah.
was this set in the 80s? So the movie came out in 1994. Was the movie actually set in the 80s? I didn't catch if they said that at all.
I
I
didn't either.
don't
I didn't
know.
It might be unsaid
Yeah.
because you have the dates of their like I think like 1984 is like their anniversary or something.
There was also a really big subtext of like crime in the city,
Right.
and like how like Nicolas Cage is this police officer, but like I feel like that very much talks to like 70s and 80s
I
experiences in
gotcha.
the city where like cities were really unsafe,
Yeah.
especially like more they were much more unsafe back then.
Right.
And I
Yeah. I
feel
mean,
like yeah.
it seems like the 80s. It seems like late 80s, but I'm not certain.
I mean,
What?
I would say that right. That's the context, right? Like it came out if it came out in '94, they started making it in '93. Like it
Right.
just came out of
Mhm.
the '80s.
Yeah.
That is, yeah,
So, speaking of crime, the next scene you get is the robbery scene where Nicolas Cage is getting coffee from what we find out is a shop that he frequents. Um, so he's getting coffee and he's talking to the store clerk, and the store clerk says something about his wife being sick and not there. And he's in his, his good guy cop sensors are going off. Then he comes back out and talks to his partner, and he's like, "Hey, our favorite Korean store clerk's getting robbed." And his partner says, "What? How?" And he says, "Well, he said his wife's not working, but she would work no matter what. She would work if she was on her deathbed." Um,
wow,
Well, then there was also the fact that he gave him the coffee on the house, which apparently isn't a thing that the store owner does. So,
oh, that's yeah. So he jumps into action, goes into the through the basement, through the back to try and sneak up on the crooks, and then he throws a can at one of them. And then he tackles the other one through a doorway. I love it when he chucks the can and pegs the guy in the face. um, so, and then once he does that, his partner dives in and he's like, "Are you okay?" And it looks in he's been shot in the arm, and then I think he like sees his arm that is shot, and then he faints after seeing it. But either way, he's then a hero. Um,
right,
and it kind of
mhm,
shows him being a hero. And you see him walking around, and he wears white New Balances, which kind of I feel like fits with his good guy middle aged cop that he would wear white New Balances when he's on
mhm,
duty. Um, then he goes to an event for him, and then he donates more money to some other charity, and then his wife again is displeased with him giving away more money. Right, that's the one you were referencing earlier, Josh.
right.
Um, so
But I mean,
following,
at this
yeah,
point, the movie is basically over. I mean, there's only one outcome here, right?
right, yeah,
And it's what they it's just was so slow in this part of the movie. It was like I was like, just do it already, get it
well,
over with.
right, and I kind of feel like it felt like it took too long for the movie to get to the lottery thing in the first place. And then it
Mhm.
also felt like it kind of didn't have within like 20 minutes after that, it was already kind of set where it was going.
Right.
But yeah, so the next scene, there's a boat party that I guess Charlie and Muriel were going to, and also Yvonne was going to. But
Oh.
so Muriel gets on the boat, and then Charlie sees that Yvonne is having some issue with the cab driver, and she's got to pay him. She doesn't have the right bills on her, so Nicolas Cage comes over, or Charlie comes over to pay the cab driver, and then by the time they get it all sorted out, they turn around and the boat's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So then that leads us to two separate scenes where Muriel is on the boat and Charlie and Yvonne are on a date. What'd you guys think
And
about this part?
I was basically tuned out at this point. I was just like, I hate this movie. It was so bad. I was so annoyed. I just was like rolling my eyes at everything they said. This was a scene where his wife was like kind of, what do you call it? Wasn't she like kind of gallivanting with these like rich
Yeah.
guys?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's like a subtext of like, oh, I bet she's like about to get down with these guys or something.
Right. And it
It was
kind of
very weird.
highlights one rich investor guy specifically that
Right.
you see him a
Right.
couple times.
An investor.
Yeah, I don't know that his like exact profession or anything is defined. He's just kind of a rich looking guy that Muriel's
He's a rich asshole, basically.
yeah.
Yeah, he was talking about like stocks or investments and things when he's introduced, and then Muriel just
Yeah.
sucks up to him the entire time. The
Right.
dinner I thought was more interesting because then you have Charlie kind of like talking about like, this
I
is my life, this is
I've
what I do, this is why I'm with Muriel, despite the fact that we have nothing in common, or I'm questioning my sanity every day I go back to my apartment.
yeah, but I also feel like we had already been kind of told this as a viewer, so it just felt really boring for this whole scene to happen where he labors on about it, because I feel like the whole part of the story the movie's been telling us up to this point is literally the stuff he's now saying to her.
Mm.
So it just
Yeah.
kind of this is, for me, you're getting into the most boring part of this movie when you enter these two scenes, because to me this date scene, it just feels weird and awkward and mega boring. Like it's like, I know all this stuff. This is the movie I've been watching. It's like they're telling you the things the movie has like told you, only they're just literally outright saying it to you now.
I mean, you're not
Mhm.
wrong.
And I don't know what else you put there, but to me this was where it started to get really boring.
Yeah, I could hardly pay attention at this point.
Yeah. So then after this, the next day, Charlie's like going on a date with Yvonne, kind of. They're rollerblading together. Charlie rollerblades into a lake because
Great scene. I rewound that part to see it happen again. I was like, oh no, he's not gonna go in that pond, is he? And he
yeah,
went right into it.
I guess just like in Moonstruck, we had a Nicolas Cage moment. I think maybe him going into the lake's probably the best Nicolas Cage moment in this movie.
Yeah.
Him rollerblading and then falling into a lake.
Which
Yeah,
I wonder, that probably wasn't even him, right? That was probably like a
Yeah.
stunt double.
It's too
more
dangerous
than
to
likely.
rollerblade into
More
a
than
lake.
I
likely.
mean, I wonder, if
I
he's
mean,
just crazy enough he might do that.
yeah, I do all my own stunts, like
Right.
rollerblading.
Rollerblading into a pond.
Sorry. Yeah. So then after that though, they're buying subway tickets for people, and
Mm.
everybody's stampeding towards the subway because they're buying free fares, which seems wild.
Right.
Oh, they're
Yeah,
buying free fares. I got to turn around and go somewhere now.
the
I mean, I feel
lottery
like,
couple.
yeah, I feel it. I mean, I just felt like like in New York City, like everybody's always trying, like there's always people getting on,
Yeah. Well,
so
and
it's more of like,
that's fine, but literally there was a scene where some guy is in the subway saying, "Hey, they're buying fares for everybody," and people like are stampeding, turning around and stampeding down there. It
it
just
just like goes to like, if was that even like, how is that even a reasonable thing? Like, was that reasonable like
It
back in the
couldn't have been.
day?
Okay, think about this yourself. You're like, okay, you just got off a train because you're like going home or you're going somewhere, and then they're like, oh, do you want a free fare to go somewhere else? Probably not. Like, unless you're going somewhere, you're not gonna say, I'm gonna take this free fare now to change my current trajectory for no reason.
Yeah, I feel like this movie was all about zeitgeist and
Yeah.
like feeling in the society, and like what it showed me is how like the people are basically just like like roving like endless masses, and they like
Just a
they
bunch of
kind of just
Sims.
yeah. It was everybody was kind of stupid, and
Yeah.
I just yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
so
so then they're buying all the people, so people, and then that's great. Then everyone loves them because then they're like the
yeah,
subway
right.
couple or whatever.
Well, then
Hmm.
then they're at a baseball stadium with like children who
Right. Then
I guess they're like renting out the baseball stadium or something so the children can have fun. And then
Yeah, I
they're,
don't think that was just a baseball stadium. I think that was like Yankee Stadium that they rented out.
yeah, so some like,
it was the Knicks. Remember he bought his friend the Knicks tickets?
yeah, he bought his
Well, he
friend.
bought his friend the season tickets. Yeah,
Right.
smart move.
I guess I assume that they were. Wait, are the Knicks are a basketball or
The
baseball?
Knicks are the
It's a
Knicks are the
basketball team.
NBA
The
team.
Mets?
The
You thinking
Yankees
the
and the
Mets?
Mets
I'm
are the
thinking of
New
the
York
Mets,
baseball
Knicks and
teams.
Mets. Yeah, so they're in some big stadium, and it's
They're in
not the
some
Knicks.
baseball stadium. So, but to me, this is just it's so boring at this point. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is the point of this?
I was thinking
And
of you, Colton, because I just was thinking about how much you hate baseball, and I was like, Colton would think this is like the worst like present ever. Like just go run around in a baseball field.
yeah. So and I was kind of like, this is lame. And my wife Jessica was sitting there and she said, no, this is they're showing you that they have the same values and they're falling in love. So that was your them falling in love section, but it was so boring. Um and then um after this, they a picture shows up like on an article or newspaper or something that Muriel sees of Yvonne and Charlie together at the baseball stadium, and there's some story about them. So at this point, Muriel kicks Charlie out of the house. So
Hmm.
Charlie's like looking for somewhere to stay. So Charlie goes to a hotel.
The
And
Plaza.
actually, the Plaza Hotel. And actually,
Yeah.
when she kicks him out, Muriel, this is the kind of the last straw in the whole thing. And Muriel says like she has wings and she needs to fly, basically, like kicking Charlie out and telling him that she's like past this, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, she wants a divorce.
Yeah, I think she says he's just blue collar. He's just a blue collar guy, and he's not going to change. Or he says that maybe. What was
Well,
it?
Yeah.
she calls him a blue collar, like just like a blue collar guy,
Right,
and then it was Johnny who said like that's not gonna change.
Charlie.
What did I say? Johnny? Charlie. Yeah.
Johnny.
um, yeah. So then Nicolas Cage is going to the Plaza Hotel, but also at the same time, you see that Yvonne goes to her house and she opens the door, and then there's like some bag that she's like, "What's unfamiliar with?" Is what we gather, and then you find out her husband's there at her apartment. Who her husband racked up all her credit card debt, and so all the credit card debt previously in the movie was causing her trouble. Um, and that was kind of one of her problems earlier in the movie is that her husband got all this debt on her credit.
And
Um,
also like wiped out her account. Didn't he like he like took all her money before she got the 2 million?
I don't know. I know it kind of seemed like he was coming after it, but I don't know that he ever did. But he was at the house and he talked to her, and they didn't. I don't think they really resolved anything. She just left.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, because I mean the whole thing is like he was after her money,
yeah,
and then she just wanted him out. So
right.
but because they were still married, and I'm guessing his name was still technically on the lease of the apartment, she's like, if you won't leave, then I will. So
Yeah, and it didn't really explain that, but she did leave, right? Like it,
yeah.
she left. So then we get to the hotel. She goes to a hotel too, and of course they end up at the same Plaza hotel. Like they're both going to the
Right.
Plaza Hotel, and she's going to check in, and then he's checking in behind her, and of course their rooms are right next to each other with a connecting door. And then like the guys who let them in the rooms come out and say, "Oh, that was the waitress who won the lottery." And then the other guy's like, "Oh, that was the guy." It's like in this world, this story has been so sensationalized that everyone knows about it. And it's like the biggest thing because after this, they open the door and then they come together and then that's it. They're like, they at that, after that point, I think we're to understand they're together and in love. Like, do you guys feel like that was the scene too, where that was like finalized?
Yes, I'm pretty sure they consummated their relationship after the during the fade to dark. So
Right. We can only assume.
Are we there? Are we to the hot air balloon yet?
No.
No, we're not there. Okay, that's where I'm at. I'm just imagining that hot air balloon float off into space.
Oh. So, but then after, okay, so the next morning they leave the hotel, and there's photographers everywhere at the hotel. You had mentioned this earlier, Kudrow. Like, why are there so many photographers just photographing these people who won the lottery?
I
yeah,
feel like, yeah, go for
it's
it.
like
Kudrow.
disregarding the fact that God, the writing. So I mean, like the fact that they even went to the exact same Plaza Hotel at the exact same time
Yeah.
under different circumstances is contrived enough as it is.
Right.
And now we're having this paparazzi like so what? I'm guessing like the two bellboys or whatever just immediately called like the New York Times or whatever. It's like, hey, the lottery winners are here. It's
Right.
like
Right.
it makes no sense.
Yeah. Hot story.
Ah,
I feel
Um,
like I do feel like there was something that they were tapping into that has, I think, changed since then. Which it is true that in the 80s and 90s, news was really all people had, right? Like people would turn on the TV and like the most interesting thing was like the crazy shit that was happening in the moment around the world, right?
right. Right.
And so I feel like whereas now we have all these different sources and whatever, it's just different. But I feel like it was tapping into that like the news would like news stations would like would basically hunt down like any story. But it did seem I mean, putting aside the whole fact of them being at the same place at the same time, which is just another example of them jumping the shark in the movie, like it just would not have happened.
Right.
But besides that, it's just it did feel really overdone. It's like now they're just permanently famous people because they won the lottery one time and they didn't even win the biggest amount.
Right. Yeah.
Like
no,
they're like, oh, isn't it like Gary Delabate from the Howard Stern show was there and he won like $9 million or something? They're like
Oh,
bowlers, and he's like, I'm gonna put in a bowling alley and whatever. And I'm like, is that Baba Booey right there? You know? And I think it is. And
yeah.
he's like, but they don't care about those like fat
Right.
bowlers in their tracksuits, but like this cop and this waitress, it's just like how desperate were people to like feel as something that they would follow this story.
Right.
I guess if I had, I mean, like I'm sitting here decrying it too, but I guess if I had to play devil's advocate, I mean, I guess I can see maybe where there's like, the feel good story, the fact that this waitress was hard on her luck, all these debts, and here comes Prince Charming to give her $2 million to
Right.
solve all of our problems, but it's
The thing
still,
is like it's just it sucks because like that it has to happen, you know? It has to happen and therefore it does and it has to happen in order for her, you know what I mean? Like it just has to happen from the
yeah,
beginning.
even if it was like I feel like it would even be more excusable if it wasn't the fact that like it's very clearly like front page news on all the newspapers that you see. It's not even like on page like 20 or whatever of the newspaper. It's page 1
Yeah.
with like the
Yeah.
picture and everything.
Right.
Right.
Like yeah.
So I guess after this, we have the scene where Charlie's meeting with Mariel and like with lawyers about their divorce, and Charlie says she can have all the money, and he's letting her take all the money, and But after that, she says she declares she wants the rest of the money, like the money that was given to other people, the money that was essentially given to Yvonne. She said she never agreed to that, and she wants that money back. So then that's what leads us to the big court scene where they're in the court and they're arguing over the rest of this money. And I guess what happens in the end basically is Mariel gets awarded all the money, which I seems absolutely insane to me. Um, and you know, she also got a boob job too, which she talked about earlier in the movie, and then she comes back later and has that. Um, but I, I just don't like what court would be like, yeah, after this length of time, now you get to have all this money back. Like, how would that even work? Because a lot of that money's already been spent.
Yeah,
Um,
I
legal
that
feel like
people
it
get
just
in on this.
yeah, I just feel like they just did it because they had to do
right.
that.
They
They
needed
can't
to for
like
the
they
movie.
can't like they can't banish her back to Brooklyn and then she has nothing and her life is ruined. Even though she was an annoying character nobody liked.
Right. And that whole her not getting money would have had to been resolved before she got the winnings. Like they
Right.
now after like, oh yeah, you can have all this money back. So that part was kind of senseless to me. Um, they go through a whole court hearing where he like, oh, the Nick Charlie got the numbers wrong because they were like her birth date and their anniversary date, but he got one of the numbers wrong. So his lawyer says, you know, this was his decision basically because he didn't get pick the exact numbers. But then they go to Meryl on the stand and she's like, my dead father's ghost was there helping pick the numbers. But I'm like, what?
Yeah, I can't like. There's
That
no
holds up
way.
in court. um, so yeah, that scene's just wildly unbelievable.
Yeah,
Um,
I just I don't and what I couldn't figure out was the title of the movie because every single one of these characters was awful and
yeah,
annoying and had a bad life and I
yeah.
would not and like I wouldn't want to have any of their lives or be in any of these situations.
Well, I think it could happen to you is referring to winning the lottery, right?
Yeah, but it's just like so I hate how like aspirational it is and it's
Yeah,
just like it's just the Kudrow used the right word when he said contrived.
yeah,
I just think the
definitely.
whole movie was just like I don't know. They were just trying to like make a very formulaic, horrible romantic comedy sort of movie in the
Right.
context of 1994, and it's just a very mediocre and not memorable.
Yeah. So after the hearing and after they award Meryl all the money, Yvonne runs out of the courtroom and runs to the diner, and of course Charlie chases her there. Um, Yvonne's like, I ruined your life. Charlie says, no. We figure out they both love each other and they decide they don't need the money. Um, and then somebody who appears to be like homeless is knocking on the window and he wants food. So of course, good guy cop and Yvonne let him in to have some food because that's what they do. And
Mhm.
then we find out after that it's actually an undercover reporter trying to get more stories. Probably the same one's been chasing him around the rest of the movie. Um, and the story comes out, and of course, this just rockets their stature even higher. Um, and then you see Charlie and Yvonne are talking about how they're going to leave together, and that they're kind of talking about what their life's going to be like. And little do they know that there is some sort of Good Samaritan fund that everyone's been donating to that's going to them. So then they show up back at the diner, I think it was, and there's just piles of letters. They go basically they get all these letters from this Good Samaritan fund, and they basically just get a ton of money from that, and then they
Mhm.
stay and just live out their dream life in New York.
So I that's where I really feel like the movie is like it could happen too. Like you could be happy because
Oh yeah,
that's really because that's what happens to all of them in the end. Really,
I
like
gotcha.
that
Well,
they
Well, the
found well
no, the wife loses the investment guy takes the wife's money, right?
Yeah,
Well,
because he reveals it because it's even said in like post text, which I hate. Because I feel like that would have been the lovely bit of catharsis this movie desperately
mm,
needed.
Maybe if it was a comedy though, but it's a romantic comedy, so you can't. It'd be
Yeah,
too
but
harsh.
yeah, but effectively, like he's a con man. He takes her money and then amscrays, but
Yeah.
right.
which is arguably the smartest thing anyone did in this movie.
Yeah.
But the fact that we didn't get to see that, I feel like that was the Schadenfreude that I just needed direct injected into my veins.
Yeah. I mean, it is strange that they just like did that. They didn't give the audience that full. Just give them a scene, you know,
Right.
where it's like, oh, that's the release, and it's like that, and that clears that out. Um. Anyways, yeah, I hate this movie. I'm sorry.
I,
I bet. Yeah.
I liked this much less than Moonstruck, and Moonstruck was just more enjoyable to watch. And maybe it's good. Maybe Cher's just hot.
That
I don't
was the
know.
one thing. Yeah, Cher was seeing Cher in that movie was definitely a little bit of an awakening for young me. I was like, damn. And then she came out with that. Then that was the same time she came out with. No, it wasn't. It was not the same time. Never mind. I'm so stupid. Forget it, guys. All right,
Um.
let's move on to the next topic.
All right. So, Josh, well, what's your solo ranking for this movie then?
All right, guys. I want to just, if it's okay, I actually I wrote some notes down about this one because I watched it
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. Let's go.
And here's what I would like to just say. My overall, I don't address Moonstruck in this, but my ranking for It Could Happen to You. The review is titled "F's All Around," and here is what I have to say about this movie. You
Okay.
guys really have to pick some better movies because this one was trash. I found it useful in the historiographical sense only. I'd like my time back. It is schlock, unadulterated pulp. I felt physically sick after watching, as I said earlier, and I had a real sense of trepidation about this segment after watching this movie because I thought, how bad is it really going to get? Um, the only good thing about the movie is Nicolas Cage roller skating into a pond, and I'd like to ban this movie forever to the crap cage, which is what I'm calling the uh, area
F tier.
it's beneath the F tier. It is only good for if you need me to put it in a grade because if we have to go with the system, then it gets an F for me. But honestly, it never needs to be watched except to get funny Nicolas Cage clips. That's the only reason. You don't need any other context. Just take the funny moments. That's the only thing worth watching. And that's kind of the thing I realized about this is that Nicolas Cage is such a like a has he gives such can give such powerful performances that regardless of what movies he's in, he's really good to like sample, right? And you can get like little hilarious moments and clips and crazy, weird, absurd things.
It's
Um,
bad. Some comedy, maybe.
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, but I think that this is a movie that has essentially no redeeming qualities.
All right.
F.
Kudrow?
Wow. I don't know. I can't follow that up. Like that's a rant right there. Uh, I, I don't know. Like I see where Josh is coming from. I don't care for this movie either. Uh, as I said, like everything felt contrived. A lot of it felt forced. I don't even think the main conflict is legally possible,
Yeah, right.
which just made it
We're
feel
way past that moment.
which just made it feel so much worse. The characters are just one-off caricatures. I might have to go E again.
Yeah.
And I think it's just through virtue of the fact that there are maybe a couple chuckle-worthy moments in the movie, but that's it.
Yeah, so I agree with you. This movie's terrible. I agree with you. There's like so many senseless things. And additionally for me, just the single one-noteness of every character, it seems. It just really seems like Mariel's an example. Like Mariel's super annoying, but it just seems like she's not a real person the way she's like written. It just a lot of the characters don't feel real.
Yeah, I'll agree that all the characters are one note, and Muriel was the note that was above the line. Right, so high, like her register was like intentionally grading.
So that actress, Rosie Perez, is that her voice normally, or is she speaking higher for
I'm
this movie?
guarantee it's played up. It is
Okay.
played
I
up. She's been
I
in
don't
other
think.
things.
Yeah, about to say
Yeah.
I've seen her in other things, and that's why I feel like if it's not her real voice, I don't think it's that over exaggerated.
Gotcha.
That's the other thing about it, Colton, that I wanted to say. The one other thing that I did like to see in the movie was Wendell Pierce. Anybody out there knows The Wire, watches The Wire. He's a main character in The Wire, and he plays the Nicolas Cage's buddy cop, his partner.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But again, just like you said, like that actor is so amazing. He has such range, but he plays a cop in The Wire. But like his character in this movie was just like not even.
Right.
It was just it was blah. It was just nothing there.
Yeah.
He's a
Yeah.
guy who popping likes basketball. Cool.
So, I'm between E and F on this one, and I don't think it was good at all. But is it bad enough to be an F? Like, I kind of feel like it's still like a movie you can watch because there's movies can get pretty bad. So I just don't know if I should leave that F open for something worse.
Because it is the
Or
lowest. It is the lowest ranking that's within the system.
right, and I'm debating if it deserves to be that low. Like
I
it definitely deserves to be an E. I just can't decide if it's as bad as an F. So I think I will go with an E. I think I'm gonna go with an E. I don't think it's nearly bad enough to be an F. I'm gonna put it just barely inching into the E category.
That's probably more reasonable.
That's all right. You can have movies you don't like.
We got an E, an F, and an unranked. That's our ratings.
well, we should probably mention Quinn again. He did rate it
Oh,
before.
what did he rate it?
He gave this a C.
Quinn gave us a C.
Quinn gave both of these movies a C.
Oh,
Yeah.
you people missing the same as Moonstruck? I can't get behind that.
He's very forgiving. I guess
Moonstruck
right.
at least
certain
has
things.
share.
Quinn has given it a C. So let's talk about where this fits in the overall here. All right, so it can't be any higher than a D. The question is, and with our higher ratings, where do you guys feel? I feel like my rating of an E should be where we put this movie. Because I don't think it deserves to be in the D category. It's just, as Josh has pointed out, just a bad movie. As you pointed out, Kudrow, half of it doesn't even make any sense.
I ranked
not
it
a good.
E
That's
too.
not a good argument.
So yeah, I ranked it E too. So I mean,
All right,
Yeah,
Quinn,
I mean,
it's Quinn that's disrupting the average here when you
Quinn
think
likes
about
this
it.
movie.
you should do
but-
a weighted total.
Yeah, I'd see, but a weighted total, I don't want to, because I think it could vary from that in some cases. But I feel like I'm comfortable with E. And maybe with Quinn's argument, we'd get like maybe it's like an E plus, but still an E. So I think for now we'll put this as an E in our overall ranking of Cage tier. Any objections?
I mean, I can't agree to that. So it's just it's like, but it's and I mean, I basically have to just acquiesce to your opinion here because I
Well-
mean, I'll be reasonable if you want to. It's probably not right to put it as an F because we can. It's not. It's more so my personal tastes, as opposed to like thinking broadly. So I'll let it slide. But I mean, there's really oh man.
You really think that it deserves to be in the absolute lowest category?
I mean, with a leading question like that, no, of course I don't. But But I don't know. I mean, no, man. Like I said, I mean, Quinn did give it a C, and he is his opinion does matter. So, uh,
All right, so Quinn saved this from being
take,
an F.
yeah. I guess the thing is like I do want to take I want to take all the hosts into account in considering this, right? So,
Well, yeah,
if we're all in agreement that it can be as an E, I'm good
I
with
I
that.
Yeah,
have I
I
have
I
str-
feel
I have strong feelings that this should not be higher than an E. I don't have strong feelings it should not be an F, but it seems like maybe Quinn and Kudra would don't think it should be an F. So I think I'm comfortable with it fitting in the E for the overall tier.
I mean, it
Yeah.
still has. I mean, even if the plot is contrived, it still has a plot. So, I mean, I guess it still counts as a movie.
I
That's
mean,
true. We got
but movies don't need to have plots to be good.
Well, I guess that does effectively describe the Big Lebowski.
yeah.
I mean, it's hard to nail down one thing that we're all gonna agree on, right?
Right.
But
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
I think like
yeah.
weighted average though, with two E's, a C, and what effectively amounts to a 0 from Josh. Uh, I I feel like
I like
E is kind of where
unranked.
it averages out.
All right
Uh,
then.
yeah, I agree
It's
with that.
it is settled. It could
My
happen to you. Go ahead.
This movie is so far down in the rankings that it's right next to fucking Dinosaur Bones.
All right.
For
It could
me,
happen to you. It gets an E on the overall ranking of Cage.
man. There've got to be people out there that like these movies, and we are just shitting all over them.
I don't
Probably.
know. I'm not sure how many people like these movies.
Okay, good. I mean, it's pretty low hanging fruit,
Yeah.
but it's nice to chop it off.
All right. Josh, did you get there was a Steam review of the week. Do you have the name of the game? Don't tell us what it is, but
Yeah,
did
I have
that come to you? Okay,
I have the name of the game. Let
great.
me pull up. Go
Yeah,
for it.
so Kudro and I are going to try and guess this Steam game off of the review. So Kudro, I can read the review here. So the review is every time I hop on this game, I either have a great time or I'm contemplating suicide. Best game I've ever played. So to me, this is definitely like some sort of competitive game with a semi-toxic community. Like I don't see how it could not be.
How is it that how is it that 2 weeks in a row of doing this segment we have managed to pull the reviews that effectively give absolutely no information whatsoever?
I had a look at the reviews, and there are other ones that are even more sparse with words.
Ah,
Trying to think here. So okay, wait, the username is General W Keys. So what kind of games would he play?
well, I mean, General Keys was it? No, it was Captain Keys from Halo. Was as a character from Halo.
Oh,
So, I mean, if I take that, maybe it's a first-person shooter.
oh, like Counter Strike
The
or
Call of
like
I could see Counter Strike for this actually, because I
yeah,
know Counter Strike has a really big community behind it, and I
yeah.
could see it. I could potentially see it being really fun or really toxic,
Trying to
depending
think
on the day.
what game have wild swings like that. It's gotta be. Can you read us another review that doesn't say the name of the game?
You want another
You
one?
see, you got a good one over there.
Let me pull it up here.
Every time, what other Dota 2? Oh, maybe it's Dota 2. Best game I've ever played. Hmm.
I think I'm gonna stick with Counter Strike.
I'm gonna stick with Dota 2, I think, unless Josh has got another juicy review to read to us.
I don't know, man. I want to give you a really good one, but I can't. Let's see.
If not, it's fine.
So how about this one?
Okay.
Beautiful game, but in my humble opinion, it's just too hard for me. I asked for a refund, but was denied because I played it longer than 2 hours. That is not enough time to get a good idea if you like a game or not. So I'm out and no game to play. I'm 72 years old and not as sharp as I used to be. Oh well. Update. With nothing left to do, I came back to the game and rolled a new character.
Okay. Okay, here we go. All right, so it's not either of the things we said. Roll
No,
the new character.
too
Dark
hard.
Souls 1.
I would say it's too hard. 72. He rolled a new character.
It's really hard. So Dark Souls 1 is probably the answer.
I could, yeah, when you say something like hard, I could
I,
definitely see
I
it
guess
being a Souls-like.
if one of us hits the name, you can tell us.
Okay, I was gonna wait. Do I need to wait for final answers, or if you just
Oh,
say it, I can
Kudrow, I
go for it?
think I might have got it. So do you want to? Kudrow agrees with me. It's Dark Souls 1.
No, I feel like it's either a Souls-born game or it's a Souls-like.
All right. Well,
So, I mean, yeah, I feel like Colton's probably on the money there. It's probably Dark Souls.
Dark Souls 1.
It is Elden Ring.
Oh. All
Uh,
right. So we were on the right trail.
You guys are in the right ballpark.
We needed that second review though.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that was the goofiest one on like the main page. I went through some other ones, but I mean, other ones were just like, oh, this one. I mean, this would have narrowed it down too if I said try finger butthole.
Oh, that would
oh
yeah, that
yeah,
would
that right there. That's a Dark Souls community joke right there.
Yeah, no, I wasn't gonna say. That was funny when I first. I was like, wait, this is
yeah.
a
I
joke.
think I think maybe future this segment, then we just go through reviews until somebody gets it.
Yeah, we
All
can do
right.
that. That would be fun.
Awesome. Cool. So uh news topics for the week. There was a Dungeons and Dragons movie trailer that came out a few days ago. So what did you guys think of this trailer? Do you want to see the movie or do you not care?
I feel like it has anything Dungeons and Dragons now has to compete with Stranger Things, and it absolutely looked worse than Stranger Things.
I feel
That
like
was,
that's unfair. I feel like that is very unfair.
But this is more like the actual like fantasy world, right?
This, I may be the odd man out in this discussion, but I am actually cautiously optimistic that
So
this might actually be worth seeing.
I don't think it couldn't be. Like the visuals of it didn't it wasn't like the visual presentation. That's not what bothered me. What bothered me is like what I saw in the trailer was like one-liners, what seemed like a movie that was just going to be super self-referential to everything Dungeons and Dragons, and so many of these movies do this to death, and they like lose the concept of what the movie actually is and just become a big reference to Dungeons and Dragons, but not actually like a Dungeons and Dragons experience. And that's what I
Well,
fear.
I actually think they might get it. They actually might potentially get it right. And the reason
Yeah.
I say this is because, like, the druid.
Right.
Now I could nitpick this a little bit, but so like they actually show her wild shaping into an animal
yes.
and then
Okay.
fighting with it. Like that is an actual druid ability. It's called wild shape.
Okay.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. Now I'm pretty sure why I don't think you can technically wild shape into owl bears because I believe they're like magical creatures. You're usually only supposed to do it with animals, but hey, they're trying and I appreciate that.
I did
Yeah, I
see
mean,
I saw the owl bear and I was like, wow, that is some what is that? That's for the fans, right?
for
That's a
you know,
marker. That's cool.
I guess kind of the way I look at it though is like even if they take some leeways with the property, I'm just is it gonna be a good movie to watch? Because that's where they just like oh, it's like all these jokes and like in things about referencing Dungeons and Dragons, and then it's not even its own movie of Dungeons and Dragons. It's just a
I mean, they're gonna release they release a terrible horror upon the world, and then they're gonna go on a quest and defeat it, right? It's like every
yeah,
Dungeons and Dragons game if
right.
you've
Which
only played one game of Dungeons and Dragons.
just the vibes I got from the trailer made me feel like that's what it's gonna be, and I feel like I would hate that. I want
But
like a real movie, not like some, you know.
I mean,
Oh,
I feel like it felt like Guardians of the Galaxy style to me, but I'm gonna side with Kudrow that I am cautiously optimistic that it will be worth watching. That they might get it right.
All right, Kudra, I'll go with you to see it.
I mean, if the movie is literally just, all I need is a bunch of adventurers that then the grand plot contrivance that is every D&D campaign ever, meet in a tavern, steal something, and then have to steal it back to save the world in the most bungling, alcohol-induced fashion ever. I will be satisfied.
Yeah.
Because that is D&D in a nutshell, and that would tell me they have done their homework.
And that's kind of what I was wondering about. Maybe you guys would know more. Is have they made movies like this before? Like, this
There,
isn't like that specifically title has Dungeons and Dragons in the title.
there was another Dungeons and Dragons game that there was another Dungeons and Dragons movie that has been released in the past.
Okay.
I can't. I think it
But
was
it
released
seems,
like in the early 2000s or something like that.
yeah, the dialogue and everything. I don't know. The trailer just seemed to flow so well to me that it almost felt like they've done this before, right? Like it just felt like from point to point they hit all the beats,
Yeah.
and it's a trailer, and that's why. But it's like, have they made this movie before? And was it Guardians of the Galaxy?
I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, as I said, they made a Dungeons and Dragons movie like before, maybe like 20 years ago or so. It was
Mm.
terrible. You should never watch it.
Were there any like known actors in it that we might know
I don't
that
think
you
so.
can recall? Yeah, I'm trying
It's
to think.
been
Was
way
it?
too long since I've seen it, but I don't
Mm,
think there was.
yeah.
All right, so we're cautiously optimistic.
A movie that I thought that they got right was Ender's Game. Have you guys ever seen that one?
I've been meaning to, and I haven't.
You should check it out. It's a fun movie. Or have you read? Or did you read that book in 7th grade like everybody else?
Funny enough, I went on a huge reading binge in 7th grade, and that was one of the ones I did not read.
Yeah, yeah. It's a classic. Has a really cool cover in the 1997 edition.
Yeah. I'll definitely get around to watching that at some point.
So, other news story. We had talked about Diablo Immortal before and about mobile games and their loot boxes, essentially, or pay to win, pay to get items. And this was on Jeff Grubb's Morning Mess. And from Sensor Tower's store intelligence data, Diablo Immortal hit 100 million revenue in 8 weeks. So turns out people are still paying for it. So just want to give an update on that after we had talked about it before.
Who is this guy Jeff Grubb you keep referencing?
Jeff Grubb's Morning Mess. It's a podcast that comes out 4 days a week, and he covers breaking or news stories from video games. Great podcast.
Where is he from?
He works at Giant Bomb.
Because there's a whole family. There is a Jeff Grubb is from the village that I'm from. And I'm just thinking maybe there's some family connections in there. Maybe I can get a back door into Jeff Grubb's life for you.
Maybe now that we're just outing some guy you know from
I mean,
live.
Yeah. I mean, he works at that company, so I have no idea. I'm just,
Gotcha. So, next week, our group media experience, we'll be discussing Monster Hunter World, which we have been playing for 4 weeks now. So we will have ranking of that and discussion. We're going to continue our ranking of Cage series next week, and
please tell me we have some better movies to watch next week.
You can go to our Twitter tomorrow to find out what movie that is, because don't have that here right now. And that will be next week. You can find me on Twitter at Boltron City. You can find Josh on Instagram at Semanticalities. You can't find Kudrow many places on the internet except for here. We stream this show live every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. The audio version uploads to podcast feeds on all podcast platforms. If you like the show, follow us on Twitch, YouTube, or subscribe on your podcast platform of choice, and we will see you next week.